Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Glory Glory podcast with Ken and Chris. And we have won the Carabao Cup Final. I'm sure
Come
everybody's
on,
delighted
come
about
on,
that. Our first
get in.
trophy in 6 years. Ten Hag has delivered at the first opportunity. How are you feeling, Chris? How are you feeling?
On a high, Kyle. On a high, not gonna lie. First trophy in 6 years feels really nice. Like you said, Ten Hag, first time of asking, over the line, no messing around. Loving it. Absolutely buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. All good.
Yeah, you know what? It was a lot easier than I anticipated. We got two quick goals in the first half, and Newcastle then got desperate. They brought on a striker at half time. They had to go for it because that's not Newcastle's game. Newcastle all season have all been about, you know, wasting time, feigning injury, delaying games. So they got the 0-0 at Arsenal. But they weren't able to do that today because we scored two quick goals and they had to come out of their shell and attack us, give us plenty of opportunities on the counter attack, but weren't able to take those chances for various reasons. But we had them where we want them, and we got the result that we needed. Um, the first goal from a set piece, great cross by Luke Shaw, great finish by Casemiro, and then the second one was a great play by Vickers, by the way, play in Rashford, and then there was a deflection, and it took it over Carrios and into the net. And Newcastle then had to come at us from that point onwards, and we had them right where we want them, and we defended perfectly. And we couldn't get the third goal to seal the victory, but it didn't matter because Newcastle won the score. So great performance by United in the final. It's not okay. It might not be the greatest final from an entertainment or a neutral point of view, but it was job done by United. And if you offered me the chance to be 2-0 up at half time, I would have taken it all day long. So I'm absolutely elated.
100%. Feel exactly the same, Kyle. We played really well. We were cool. We didn't look particularly under pressure at many points in the game, one or two moments from Newcastle. But like you said, I felt pretty comfortable in the game. Watching the game, felt like United had it fairly well under control. Newcastle are not an easy team to beat. Like you said, they managed to frustrate Arsenal, and Arsenal have been in great form this season. So all bets are off, and finals are finals. It's a one-off game. Anything can happen on the day. A red card, an injury here, a deflection like we got, can just change a game. So yeah, even though, like you said, it wasn't the Champions League final or anything like that, but I mean, it's still a big game at Wembley against a difficult opponent from the Premier League. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Yeah, I was talking to a couple of people before the game earlier, and I thought fans would be pretty positive, but some people saying they were a wee bit nervous. So you can never take these things for granted. So yeah, just great to get the job done, like you said. Yeah, it would be nice to have got the third goal, but 2-0 in a final is pretty fairly comfortable, and like I say, it wasn't too hairy. So yeah, I'm really happy. Great performance, great result. This exactly what we wanted. So yeah, 100%, 100% good.
Yeah, there's many great individual performances from United today. It's really hard to pick a man of the match, just as it is so hard to know pick out a player of the season for United. And normally it's so easy. It's normally De Gea, but just like player of the season, man of the match today was so difficult. I mean, who, in your opinion, do you think was United's standout player? You could pick from 4 or 5, couldn't you?
Lots of great performances. Yeah, loads and loads of good performances. I feel like the man for me, and looking online and stuff, other people have kind of hinted at it, it was probably Casemiro again. The guy he just oozes class. He's so comfortable, just smart, breaking up play. And then great header, for the goal. That's not really an easy finish. It's coming across his body. He actually put. It's difficult to control that. Sometimes you can kind of get a glancing blow on it and put it wide. So great header. Just yeah, he was brilliant. So definitely for me it was Casemiro. But like you said, Kyle, lots of good performances all across the pitch. So I could see other people fancying, I don't know, maybe Fernandez. Rashford worked pretty hard. De Gea pulled off a couple of great saves, particularly from, was it St. Maximin? So yeah, lots of good performances. And obviously defensively we were brilliant too. Luke Shaw was amazing. But yeah, I think probably Casemiro for me.
Good choice. So it's nice to see that not everybody who doesn't like United wants United to lose. Like Huddersfield Town fan FC here says, a thoroughly deserved win. Happy for you, and you have got ended your trophy drought. The impact Ten Hag has had in a short amount of time is remarkable. And he goes on to say that the ETH era, where many more trophies will be won. I'm assuming that even though he's a Huddersfield fan, he's a bit of a United sympathiser by the sounds of things, and there's not many of those around.
There's very few, Kyle. There's very few, but I think we appreciate anybody that wants United to do well. So good man, Huddersfield Town TV. Good on you. Yeah, keep the love coming.
And Brush here, who's a regular in the show, says, "Pick up, guys. First trophy in the bag. On to the next. Happy days." Yeah, that's what I was saying. This is going to be the first of many. I have great faith in Ten Hag that he's the right man. We've waited so long for someone like Ten Hag to come along. It's been 10 years. There's so many mediocre and failed managers, but I think that Ten Hag is going to be here for the long term, and he's going to win just about everything, in my opinion. Is that how you feel, Chris?
Yeah, it feels good at the minute, Kyle. It feels really, really good. Yeah, I think Ten Hag is absolutely top drawer. Yeah, I think I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only thing that can stop Ten Hag doing really well is if the club, for one reason or another, doesn't support him and give him the things that he asked for. If you give that man what he asked for, give him the players that he wants and the position that he needs, I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and I think he can be extremely successful. I don't see any reason why he can't win. Well, you don't want to say too much, but no reason why he can't win pretty much everything, given the right tools. He's as good a manager as anybody. He's good as Guardiola. He's good as Mourinho. He's good as Klopp. He's good as any other manager in Europe, in my opinion. And given the right tools and the right resources, I don't see why we can't win pretty much everything with him. Yeah, I think he's absolutely top drawer.
Yeah, fantastic. I love this wee dance with Anthony and Martinez after he won the game. I've seen him do that with Ajax players, and he loves to get involved in that sort of thing after he wins trophies. So he's got
I don't think.
personality as well, doesn't he?
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, he just seems like a great guy all round. He just seems like he's got everything. He's a nice guy when he needs to be. He's firm when he needs to be. He doesn't take any BS from people, but at the same time, he's not coming out and losing his mind and going on these rants and he's always professional and approachable, but he's got a bit of steel. I think he's just perfect. Roy Keane, I don't think quite appreciated the dance so all the same. If you saw on Sky Sports afterwards. But yeah, no, he was having a laugh. I get the impression Keane has a lot of respect for Ten Hag. I think everybody does. I don't see how you couldn't. But he had a wee sort of jokey dig at him, saying that he should be embarrassed, but nah, he was only having a laugh. Yeah, just brilliant. The guy, like I say, the guy is just, for me, he's just on the money. Even I was talking to somebody the other day about how he dealt with the whole Ronaldo situation. And comparing that to previous managers that we've had, no names mentioned, but I think people will know who they are. That sometimes whenever previous managers and managers of other clubs get criticised publicly by somebody, they can't take it lying down. They have to come out and have a big statement. And Ten Hag was just saying nothing. Let your feet do the talking. The proof is in the pudding. No need to say anything, justify himself. Just get on with his job. And I think he handled that really well. And yeah, like I say, everything he does to me is just class. I just think he's just got the right way. Yeah, he's just brilliant.
Yeah, at the start of the season, Ten Hag was being criticised not just for the fact that United lost, 4-0 Brentford and 2-1 at home to Brighton, but at that point, certain journalists and pundits were attacking him for his dress sense, his appearance, his accent, and all this sort of nonsense, and
It's
and
just ridiculous stuff.
you know,
Ridiculous.
and making predictions that he's going to fail, and he got the nickname Eric 10 months. And he's only got to last 10 months, like David Moyes and all this sort of crap. But
I feel,
he's
feeling like now Kyle, that just meant that he was going to win his first trophy before he was there 10 months. I think that's what that must have meant.
yeah, we're not even at the 10 month mark at this point. He's
Yeah,
won a trophy at the first attempt.
100%.
So brilliant, and his in-game management is probably what's impressed me most. You know, 20 minutes into the first half, I was already calling for Dallo and Fred to come off because they're on yellows. On Newcastle, let's put it this way, they're a streetwise team because Eddie Howe, while he was out of work, went to work with Atletico, who we know are a very streetwise team, and he learnt all those tactics from Simeone. So he knows how to time waste, play act, try to get opponents books and sent off. And Newcastle have been doing that all season. I mean, in Newcastle games this season, on average, the ball has only been in play for 43 minutes out of 90. So they know how to play the dark arts of the game. So we had two crucial players on yellows, and I was thinking this is what Newcastle will play on to get back in the game. But Ten Hag brought Wan-Bissaka on for Dallo at halftime. He was getting the run around by Saint Maximin, and Wan-Bissaka was absolutely immense in defensively in the second half. So much so that Newcastle had to substitute Saint Maximin. Wan-Bissaka was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was brilliant. That's the thing about him. You see that guy defensively and somebody coming at him, and to be honest, there's not that many players in the world, bar maybe Messi or somebody, that I think is gonna, easily beat that fella down that line. He is brilliant, and yeah, he's exactly the man you need when you want defensive play, and somebody like Alan St. Maximin, who, by the way, I mean, not saying Newcastle aren't a good side, but I'm surprised other big teams aren't wanting to pay him big money to try and lure him, because I think he's an absolutely top drawer player. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka dealt with him really, really effectively. We know that Wan-Bissaka's frailties are going forward, so I can see why Dallo is the first option there. Whenever you're in a cup final and your priority is to win the game, and you're not going to sit there and hold out for a draw. So I can see why he started with a more kind of attacking kind of lineup. But yeah, when the chips are down, there's no better man than Wan-Bissaka. So yeah, no, it was like you say, Kyle. It was just another. We've been watching it all season. It's no surprise now. It's not a fluke. Ten Hag is in game management is absolutely superb, and he is completely ruthless. And in the sense of he just does what he needs to do. Doesn't matter who the player is. If they need to be taken off, he'd take them off, and he'd make the right sub. And yeah, 100%, like you say, Wan-Bissaka was brilliant. So it was just another inspired substitution, the right change at the right time. So yeah, just superb again from Ten Hag.
And Weghorst, while fans have criticised his ability to score goals, again today he scuffed the shot when he had a great chance. But the man's work rate is absolutely unbelievable, and he really endears himself to the fans by the way he tries so hard. It's like a throwback to Tevez back in 07, 09, chasing down defenders, chasing down the goalkeeper, getting tackles in, winning the ball back. Weghorst said in an interview before the game that this is the first final he's ever played in, and he was going to make sure that he won that final, and he did, didn't he?
That's brilliant. That's just brilliant. I didn't actually see that quote. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's great, and it's great to see that a guy like that gets an opportunity to play in a final, and he mightn't have done in other circumstances, and yet he 100% earned this place. Yeah, I really like Weghorst. He's just another. How many of these guys are we? Do we get these days? Kind of aging, well, not he's not that old, but strikers who they're not going to be the future. They're not world beaters. Another kind of Odi and a Gallo or Cavani. Although Cavani was more of a goal scorer, but yeah, we seem to be good at getting these kind of players in. These stopgaps, and they're brilliant. And Weghorst is just another one. Like you said, sometimes I think he couldn't buy a goal, which is unfortunate for him, because I really want to see him get a goal, because everything else he does is superb. Works really hard, like say Kyle works hard for the team, drops back, when he needs to, defends when he needs to, and yeah, plays some excellent balls. He's picking up assists. He's creating chances. So yeah, it was great for him. He's a good player, and he works really hard. I really like him.
On his Huddersfield Town TV says he got the assist for the first goal as well. Really good play. And I remember that one was Casemiro made a crucial intervention in the build up to that goal as well. Again, another fantastic 10 out of 10 performance from Casemiro on Varane. The only thing that amazes me about these guys, where do they get the hunger from? Where do they get a desire from after everything that they've won at Real Madrid? Just look at the passion from Casemiro today. he wins a tackle or an interception, and he's giving it to the United fans. Go on, yeah. You're like, where do these guys get the hunger from to keep winning trophies? And it's only the Carabao Cup in England. These guys have won 5 and 4 European Cups. Uh, it just amazes me that these guys have such desire, but I love it. Absolutely love their passion for the football club.
It's brilliant, but it's interesting because in some ways, ironically, you kind of feel like players who win multiple trophies, the more they win, the more they want to win. And winning, as Roy Keane mentioned after the game earlier, it becomes a habit. And so while you would look and go, you've already got, 10 trophies, 20 trophies, whatever it is you've got, 15 trophies. Why do you need more? But that's the thing. Some of these guys are just, born winners, full of passion, as Huddersfield Town fan says there. And the more trophies they win, these guys, the more they want to win. Like we used to talk about, Giggs and some of our players from our stronger eras would have talked about how you'd celebrate. Keane would have said the same. You celebrate for a couple of days after a win, and then it's almost like it didn't happen. Back to business, just want the next one. And Casemiro and Varane are just exactly off that ilk. They're just, it's never enough. They're just always hungry. Win a trophy, celebrate for a couple of days, forget about it. Didn't happen. On to the next one. Start fresh, day one. And that's what they seem to be all about. And it's no coincidence they're serial winners. And yeah, it looks like they're going to just continue to be serial winners. And I'm just really glad they're at Manchester United. And it's with us. Hopefully they're going to keep winning these trophies with. Just absolutely love it. Did you see the video of Casemiro at the end of the game when he was celebrating with the trophy? And he was just giving it absolute stacks. And the guy that you say has won 5 Champions Leagues, and you would think he just won the Champions League. He was so happy, so passionate, and it's just incredible to see. Like you say, you just go, it's just amazing to see that hunger and that desire and that happiness. There was he wasn't treating it as if this is a a not important thing for me. He could celebrate it as if it was the biggest thing he'd ever won. It's just great to see.
How will these guys ever cope when they retire? When they've got nothing else to strive for. It's obviously win things is what keeps them going in life, what motivates them. When they haven't got that anymore, we've talked a lot on this podcast about how Ronaldo has coped with his career coming to an end at the top level. How will Casemiro and Varane will struggle as well, not having that motivation of trying to win trophies all the time. But I think mentally they're in a better place than Ronaldo, if I'm being honest. He's so used to being told that he's the best player in the world, and then when the manager tells him that he's not, then he lashes out by doing a bizarre interview with Piers Morgan. But we don't have to talk about that today. Martinez again, another fantastic performance. That guy, he's such a fan favorite. A lot was made about him being 5'9" and all this sort of nonsense, but he wins not absolutely everything on the floor, but everything in the air as well. He loves a physical confrontation. He's so strong. Defenders find it hard to get past him, to win 50-50 duels with him. His passing is like a midfielder. What's not to love about this guy?
He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. How can you not love him? He is absolutely brilliant. And actually, it actually makes it better in some ways as a United fan, the amount of criticism that he had, because it's just more people with egg on their face. Some of the things they said about him were absolutely just silly. I mean, and that's the thing too. It shows again Ten Hag, how much on the money he is, how insightful he is, how well he understands the game, that, he went looking to bring Martinez in, while other people may, these people that made these, said these silly things about him at the start, might have looked at him and said, you can't bring him into the Premier League. He's too small. He's never going to do it. And Ten Hag knew immediately, it's absolute load of rubbish. I know everything about this guy. He's got everything that he needs. And so it has proved. It's just another master stroke by Ten Hag. And I love him. Who doesn't love him? I think he's probably everybody's, if not your favorite United player at the minute, he's certainly in your top 2 or 3. Yeah, he's just brilliant. Like you say, Kyle, he's got everything. Tenacious, strong, quick, good on the ball, wins everything in the air, loves a tackle, wins everything on the ground. The guy's absolutely top class. So coincidence he's a World Cup winner, like absolutely none whatsoever.
And for 10 years, managers have been bringing in players that are just don't have the innate mentality, and they shrink when they put on the jersey. But almost everyone that Ten Hag has brought in has just found it easy to be an innate player and don't feel the weight of the shirt. And they've been motivated by the shirt. Almost every single one of them, including Anthony. Um, Even Anthony, brilliant goal the other night to win the Barcelona game, even though he can be quite frustrating from a fan point of view. Today, maybe from an attacking point of view, it was more of the same. But what's great about Anthony is that he works so hard without the ball. He's like Sancho has rightfully been accused of not doing enough when United don't have the ball. But you see, when Anthony's playing, Ten Hag knows that when the opposition have the ball, he's going to track back. He's going to win the ball back, and he's very, very tenacious, and that's what I love about the player. When he didn't score when he should have in the game, he's very, very pissed off with himself. I think he's got the attitude, he's got the mentality. He's obviously just needs a more coaching, more maturing, and I think he will be a better player in the future. But really happy with what Anthony's produced in the last two games, which have been the two biggest games of the season. So you feel the same way,
Same,
Chris?
same. I really like him, Kyle. I don't know if you remember, you and I think did discuss him maybe on the podcast before, and yeah, even times when he was getting criticised. Not to say that I knew anything more than anybody else, but I always liked him for the reasons you just talked about, because I always, again, I have faith in Ten Hag. Ten Hag had him before at Ajax, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. There was Anthony, I think, talked about Ten Hag and said that Ten Hag was quite hard on him, but he realized that he was only doing it for his own good, and he was teaching, he was learning. And again, when he came in at United, and he was doing bits of showboat, and people going, "Oh, what's he like? He's doing this and that." And I just thought, yeah, but Ten Hag knows that. He knows that he needs to get that cut out of his game, and I always felt like he will do that because he knows him. He knows how to work with him. And like to say, from day one, regardless of what people thought about him, the ability was there, pace is there, the strength is there. He's good on the ball, and he works his socks off. The one and only thing you might criticize about him, and you said this before, and it's a fair criticism, is that he is kind of all left foot, which can be a wee bit predictable. But to be honest, yeah, again, you can work on that. He's a top class professional. He's a Brazilian international for a reason. The guy's not he's not a poor footballer. He's absolutely top level. Yeah, I think he's great. I really like him, and like you said, Kyle, I think he's only going to get better. The more he matures, the more he works under Ten Hag, the more he works within the team and adjusts even further to the English football and stuff. I think he's gonna be brilliant. So yeah, I think there's a lot more to come from him.
And what's been great about these last two games is that Marcus Rashford has been our most reliable source of goals this season. He hasn't scored technically in the last two games, yet we've won both games. That's okay because I want to see us win games without a reliance on Rashford, and that's what we've done. The two biggest games of the season so far. I know some might argue Rashford should have deserved the second goal today, but it wasn't on target, so it was given as an own goal. But we're winning games without relying on Rashford's goals, and that's fantastic because for so much of this season, we're relying on Rashford to score goals. He's our biggest source of goals, and hopefully he gets to 30, 35 goals this season. But it's good to see us winning games without the reliance on Rashford, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a few people who have mentioned that recently, saying that we can become over reliant on him. So yeah, you're 100% right, Kyle. Totally agree. It's good that we're winning games without him scoring. Although, like you said today, when I first seen the goal, I thought, well, why is that not give to him? But you're right. Yeah, it wasn't on target and it deflected in the net. So fair enough. It's an OG technically, but he did all the work for it. He created the goal, so it's all down to his play. So yeah, in my mind, he deserved the goal in some ways. But yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, of course, too, is that Rashford is such a threat that everybody knows what he can do, that he will inevitably create space for other players, and he will inevitably draw focus from defenders, which will, create opportunities for other players in the team. So his very presence in the team, and the fact that he is such a goal threat, and his finishing and his pace, and his strength as well, will always be a threat to opposition defenses. So even if he's not scoring the goals himself or getting assists, and the fact that he's there and he's stretching defenses will always create opportunities, in my opinion. So yeah, It's great that even when he's not scoring, other people are delivering. But like I say, I do think that his presence on the pitch still contributes to that. So yeah, he's top drawer. But yeah, it's great to see us not solely relying on him for goals. Yeah.
And another player who's top drawer is Luke Shaw. What an elegant footballer he is. Just love his composure, his ability on the ball, and just how cool he is, and just his deliveries are absolutely fantastic. Have you been impressed with Luke Shaw?
Yeah, he's playing really well at the minute, isn't he? He's brilliant. His delivery for the goal there earlier today was absolutely smashing. Yeah, he's a great footballer. I mean, you and I have criticised him plenty in this podcast in the past for his defending. But yeah, and that's fair enough. But I think he's playing well defensively too, and obviously he's got other people around him that are were defending well as a team. But going forward, he's sublime. I mean, that was never in doubt, and I think he's just on that upward curve of that again. Isn't he? Like, his deliveries are excellent. He's cool. He's composed. He's playing really well at the minute. I think you can't see past him. I remember when Malacia came in, I kind of thought, I can see fair enough why Luke Shaw might be dropped, and maybe Malacia or Malasaya, however you want to pronounce it, being there has maybe put a bit of pressure on Shaw and let a fire underneath him, but he's definitely responding to it. He's playing really well. Yeah, long may it continue.
And Malacia has played a whole lot of games, but that hasn't necessarily meant that Shaw has been benched, because Shaw has played centre back in quite a few games.
Very true. Very true.
And he's done very well against the likes of Holland and Lewandowski and not looked out of place. So, and another contender for player of the season. I've talked about this previously. Normally De Gea is a shoe-in for player of the season. Now you could pick from Rashford, Casemiro, Martinez, Shaw, and so many players are up for that honor, and we've no idea who's going to win. And that's exactly what we want as fans. We want so many players competing for that award, because it means that we're having a good season. So
Exactly.
it's one of those. So we'll see who gets the Smart Buzzing Player of the Year award in May, but it's going to be very competitive. So Harry Maguire got his 2-minute performance today and was given the excuse to go and lift the trophy, and he lifted one handle with Bruno Fernandes. But apparently Harry said before the game that he'd allow Bruno to lift one of the handles when we're lifting the trophy, because he's been captain for most games this season. If anything, it should be the other way around. Bruno allowing Harry to lift one of the handles of the trophy. I mean, come on. What has he done this season? Bruno is the real
Yeah.
captain, isn't he?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean,
Come
at the end
on.
of the day, yeah, okay, I understand that club captain has some responsibilities off the pitch, fair enough. And I'm sure Maguire, as club captain, is fulfilling those responsibilities. But on the pitch, which is where the results come and where you win trophies, it's been Bruno Fernandes. So, to all intents and purposes, Fernandes has been the on-field captain for most of the season. And Maguire, yeah, sure he does his bit off the pitch. Yeah, it was. Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, he's part of the squad. He is a club captain. Who could begrudge the guy from lifting the trophy? But you're right. When I did see him lifting it hand in hand with Fernandez, and yeah, I kind of thought, yeah, like you say, he's got his 2 minutes, so he can lift the trophy as club captain. It is a little bit laughable, but again, comes back to good man management from Ten Hag, making sure to give him his place and making sure that he was part of things. So you got to hand it to him. That's good. But you're right, Kyle. Yeah, it is a little bit. It's a wee bit ironic. Like, yeah, yeah. I have to say, I admire Maguire's confidence. I really do. I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, I definitely admire it. Fair play to him.
Yeah, it was almost a bit like John Terry today in the 2012 Champions League final, coming on to lift the trophy when he had absolutely nothing to do with the victory.
I was avoiding
But
going there, but yeah, that was exactly the image that I had in my mind.
yeah,
Pretty much.
it'll be. It might be Maguire's last trophy that he'll ever lift. I don't think next season we might win more trophies this season. Fair enough. I'd be happy to see Maguire lift more trophies this season,
So would
but
I. Absolutely.
after the season, I don't think he'll be involved. So Fred had another selected quite rightly, and after his Barcelona performance, and was excellent again today. Just he's really, really been more. he's capable. He's been capable of those performances under Solskjaer, where he wins everything. He breaks up the play. His passing is decent. He scores goals, but he's doing that on a more consistent basis under Ten Hag, and he's done that most importantly in the last two games. But he was given a rest today after 69 minutes by bringing on Sabitzer. Sabitzer, what an unbelievable tackle that he won in the centre of the pitch to set up a chance for Rashford. It was saved by Karius in the end. So mostly Fred today, but Sabitzer when he came on for him were excellent and played their roles in the victory. So it's good to see our and Casemiro was just like we talked about, just different level. So it's great to see our midfield dominating, isn't it?
We finally got a strong midfield. It feels like, and we're missing Ericsson as well at the minute, which just strengthens it even further. Yeah, I feel like it's been a problem for a long time. We talked about it all throughout last season. The problem with midfield, and Fred was always almost like the poster boy for how poor our midfield was. But again, I keep saying it. It just shows how Ten Hag has just got the balance right once again. That he's understood, that Fred does have some positive attributes which he can use if he's got the right people around to make up for his weaknesses, mainly giving the ball away and stuff like that. If you've got good ball players around him, he's brilliant. Fred's brilliant at breaking up play and being a nuisance and man marking people like he did with Frankie De Jong during the week. I mean, that's just what you want from him. Yeah, so he had a great performance. And Sabitzer, yeah, I didn't know what to make of him at all when he came in. I knew he had good pedigree. I kind of thought at his age, he's starting to get on the wrong side almost of his kind of not how much he's going to contribute, but actually, you know what, he's a real quality footballer, and again he loves to put himself about. His tackling's brilliant. He takes no prisoners. He's great on the ball. He's not a bad shot on him as well. I'm surprised he hasn't got a few goals. He's got a lot about him. Yeah, I really like him. He's just a really tidy, top class footballer. Yeah, he's not going to be our best midfielder. He's probably not going to be. You're not going to select him as the starter in your top 11, but he's brilliant coming off the bench, and he works hard, and he looks like he really wants to have something to prove. So yeah, I really like him. I have to say, I think I really do feel like, ironically, from probably being our weakest point in some ways, centre midfield, I feel like we're really strong right now as long as those guys stay fit. But we've got options. Like say, you lose Ericsson, and by no means have we gone to pieces in centre midfield. We've got a lot of good options there, and obviously bringing Sabitzer in it was a good move to strengthen that. Yeah, I think we're pretty good in the centre of the park at the minute.
We've been linked with a lot of big names in midfield, like Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, Enzo Fernandez before he went to Chelsea, uh, all these big expensive midfielders. But Sabitzer is available on a permanent deal for like £18 million. That could save us a lot of money, couldn't it?
You'd have to consider him. You really would have to consider him, Kyle. Like I say, and again, coming back to Ten Hag, Ten Hag seems to be somebody he likes to build teams and systems, so you don't necessarily need to have one big name there that's going to do it. Although, arguably we've got two of them anyway. We've got Casemiro, we've got Ericsson, so we've got two big names in the centre park anyway. Yeah, so I mean, right now I'm thinking, what's Declan Rice going to do that what we have already isn't doing, between them. Yeah, Declan Rice may be younger and he's very dynamic and he's a bit of a complete player. Don't tell me that he's on the level of Casemiro though. He's definitely not. He may be younger, but maybe physically he's got better attributes. But for terms of footballing ability, no, I think Casemiro is hands down a better player than what he is, and probably Ericsson is too, actually. So yeah, you're right. I feel like right now what we have is a good blend. I wouldn't look past Sabitzer. I don't know if his age will be a thing. I don't know if maybe he is only intended to be a stopgap. And maybe when Ericsson comes back in, maybe the manager will feel like he doesn't really need him. I don't know, but yeah, I like him. And I think we're genuinely really strong right now. So yeah, I think you're right. We could save money by sticking with what we've got. Yeah, keeping them longer term.
It'll be interesting to see what Ten Hag does in the summer. Will he keep Sabitzer, or will he go for De Jong, who he absolutely loves? And De Jong was brilliant the other night against United. And just to come on to that, you have been. It seems like you're never away from Old Trafford at the moment, Chris. You were at the Crystal Palace game and you're at the Barcelona game. How was it? being in at Old Trafford during the Ten Hag era? How did you find it?
Incredible, Kyle. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, I haven't been to Old Trafford since the Van Gaal era. It seems I really only like Dutch managers. It seems so. Yeah, I wait till the
Yeah,
next Dutch guy was in before I went back. But no, yeah, I hadn't been since Van Gaal, which is wasn't last year. And yeah, I've been really lucky to be there twice within a few weeks. It's been brilliant. The atmosphere, particularly in the Barcelona game, albeit I was sitting right at the edge of the Stretford end, which probably helped too. But I mean, the atmosphere was as good as it's ever been in any games I've been to Old Trafford. It was absolutely electric. The place was bouncing. It was just amazing. Yeah, and we played really well. It was just, I mean, I couldn't have picked a better game to be at. Really, I feel pretty privileged that I got to go to that one. And yeah, we played really well. Yeah, it was brilliant. And you're right, Frankie De Jong is a top class player. But Fred handled him extremely well, I have to say. Um, but yeah, he's a good player, and Ten Hag clearly likes him. So it'll be interesting to see, does he go back for him again? Who knows?
I think that he will.
Wouldn't be
um,
surprised.
there was apparently De Jong didn't want to play in the Europa League, and this season transpired in a way that De Jong ended up being knocked out of the Europa League by Man United. He couldn't have written that script.
Well, I suppose Kylie got what he wanted. He didn't want to be in the
Yeah.
Europa League, and he's not in the Europa League, so worked out well for him,
Yeah.
actually. In fairness,
Yeah.
he got his dream. Yeah, no, it is ironic. It is absolutely ironic. Yep, and Barcelona are playing really well in domestically. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is kind of ironic that he got knocked out by the team that he rejected because they weren't good enough for him. So they didn't have Champions League football. Well, who knows? What goes around comes around. But yeah, I still like him. He's a good player, and yeah, I think if Ten Hag went back for him, nobody would complain. Nobody complain about that.
If we had De Jong and a striker who was like a 20 goal season man, I think we'd be unstoppable. That's the way I feel. Now, anyone who listens to this podcast will know I'm a huge fan of Victor Osimhen at Napoli, who, by the way, that team might win the Serie A and the Champions League this season. And he will be a very expensive signing. But if we signed him and De Jong, for example, I think Man City can sign whoever they like in the summer. We will still win the league. That's how I feel. That's how confident I am now in Ten Hag.
It's good to hear, Kyle. It's good to hear. Yeah, yeah. You're definitely feeling confident. Yeah, no, it's yeah. Osherman is a great player. And obviously so is Frankie De Jong. Like I keep saying, for Ten Hag, it seems to be all about systems. It's all about the collective. And that's what he tries to build. And you're right. I mean, I think what we have right now is pretty damn strong. And if you strengthen that in a few areas, yep, probably could bring in, say, another midfielder. I still feel like maybe another right back might be a good thing. Somebody who has the kind of a bit more complete. We have Dallo, who's good going forward, pretty poor defensively. We've got Wan-Bissaka, who's the opposite. So I would argue that maybe another right back who would be kind of doing what Shaw's doing on the left, and we can have that same threat on the right, might help. But bar that, yeah, send a midfielder and another striker. So we're not solely reliant on Rashford. Although we talked about that anyway, we're doing well in that regard. We might be pretty unstoppable. Yeah, I think my level of confidence at the minute is kind of quietly confident. I feel like the season's good. I feel like we could do a bit more. Never know. And yeah, don't like to say too much, but I feel like we are finally on the right trajectory again for the first time in a long time. Yeah, the future looks really bright.
Yeah, so just on the right back subject, I've been a bit back and forth this season. Dallo prior to the World Cup, I thought he was magnificent and it had improved really well. But at the moment, I think Dallo has regressed and gone back to the previous Dallo, and I'm not convinced by him anymore. Gets absolutely rinsed by left wingers. Going forward, I don't think he's unbelievable. He's very hit and miss.
Nah, he's
I
not.
think Wan-Bissaka today, as he proved in the second half, one-on-one defending, even against someone as good as San Maximan, he was outstanding. And going forward, I think Wan-Bissaka is actually better than people give him credit for. So for me, he'd be first choice. But I do agree with you that we should make an addition in that position. But if we're going to make an addition and get rid of one man, at the moment I'd probably take the money for Dallo. I appreciate that maybe in a 6 weeks time I might be eating my words, but at the moment I probably, if we're going to make a signing at right back, the person that I would keep is Wan-Bissaka and possibly sell Dallo if we're going to make an addition. How do you feel about it, Chris?
Yeah, it's a tough one, Kyle. And but you're right, and I think what you said there sums it up. Really, football fans are fickle. We're all fickle, and the old saying, "You're only as good as your last game." And that's why I guess if we're thinking about it, we'll probably have to. But that's what the management staff will do. You'll think about it over the entirety of the season and what we've seen. Rather than who's in form and who's out of form. And yeah, I believe that maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle. That Wan-Bissaka was a midfielder at one point in his career, so he technically has or had at one point the ability to go forward. It's almost like he likes being a specialist in something where he almost can't just be an all rounder. He almost has to be good at one thing or good at another, and that's a shame because. But the fact that he has been a midfielder would suggest to me that he maybe can work up to improving what he does going forward, and that maybe would make him that player that we're looking for. You're right, Dallo for me sometimes just looks a bit too lax. Um, I would say that Wan-Bissaka is too cautious at times going forward, and that he's afraid of losing the ball. But Dallo is the complete opposite. He's almost sometimes too lackadaisical, and I would argue that that is a worse attribute in some ways. It's worse to be too lax than to be overcautious. So yeah, based on that, there's a good argument there that if you were to get rid of one, it would be Dallo, and you would hang on to Wan-Bissaka. But it's hard to know. Like you say, Kyle, you could end up between now and the rest of the season. Dallo has a wake up call, plays absolutely brilliant, and we're going, oh, we don't need anybody. So yeah, it's hard to say, but yeah, right now I can see why you could easily argue that yeah, Dallo should be the one to go. And but like I said, neither of them are the complete player you'd want them to be. So if neither of them can become that player, then I feel like there's justification for buying that player in. Like I say, somebody who's going to be able to do what Luke Shaw's doing on the left, somebody who can do that on the right. But it'll be interesting to see whether that's somebody else or whether it's one of the two we already have. But but I think that's what we need.
Yeah, don't be surprised to see a Dutch right back come in who's good in both ends of the pitch.
Wouldn't complain one bit. Wouldn't complain one bit. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and as harsh as it sounds, if we got a world class right back in and moved Dallo on, then we can't complain. I know Dallo was not a player I dislike at all. But if we were to upgrade in that position, then you can't have three right backs. Somebody has to be moved on. And at the moment, the way Wan-Bissaka, how good Wan-Bissaka is defensively, you couldn't justify moving him on. So maybe he will be the one to stay, but it'll be Ten Hag's decision. Likewise with the goalkeeper decision, like you will not find a better shot stopper than David De Gea, but you'd probably want in this era someone who's better with their feet than De Gea. And we seen the other night how troublesome De Gea's problems with his football can be when Casemiro had to save his skin. But Ten Hag will have to judge whether what's more important, the best shot stopper in the world, or a downgrade in terms of shot stopping on someone who's very good with their feet. Whatever do you know what? Just what anything else, whatever Ten Hag decides, I will go along with it. That's how I feel at the moment.
Yeah, and you have to trust that he'll probably get it right. It feels like that. Yeah, it's a difficult one. If you were to put a gun to my head, I would say to stick with De Gea. I don't think he's that bad with his feet over in general. Yes, he has moments. I don't think he's that bad with his feet overall that you would say that you have to replace him because he's so bad with his feet that it's almost like, cancels out how good he is at shot stopping. I mean, I feel like his shot stopping ability is so high and that saves you so many points that you don't mind writing off the fact that sometimes he's going to let you down a wee bit with his feet. I mean, I don't think he lets us down. I'm not watching every game and going, oh, there he goes again, or oh, there he it goes again. I'm not feeling like that. Sometimes you're going, oh, a bit poor, put under a wee bit of pressure there, but it's not constantly. So I right now I feel like what he contributes far outweighs any of his flaws. That's my opinion. And I don't know any other goalkeeper in the world that I would say I'd rather have in nets than him, and that includes any of the perceived best goalkeepers around. I mean, I think he's as good as anybody. So yeah, for me, I think he would stick with him, and I'd be shocked if Ten Hag doesn't stick with him. But it'll be interesting to see, as he starts to build towards the style of play that he likes, because he's brought in a few players, but in many ways he's just plugged obvious weaknesses, and that we already talked about. So once he gets a team where he feels they're starting to be at the minimum level that he would require, then he maybe want to start to adding the icing on the cake, and then maybe then he might think, well, actually, maybe I would prefer a more ball playing goalkeeper. That'll be interesting to see. But I'd be shocked if in the short term he would get rid of the guy. That's my opinion. And I wouldn't get rid of him now, but who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't give up a goalkeeper who's that good at saving shots, like the Iheanacho header for Leicester last weekend. The way De Gea dug it out from behind himself.
Sublime.
Just not many keepers make that save.
No.
I wouldn't want to give up that talent between the sticks. There's not many keepers who can do that. Yeah, he may not be the greatest on the ball, but like we seen in midweek, Allison and Courtois are known as great keepers with their feet. They both made horrendous mistakes in the same
Yeah.
game, which led to goals. So, even a keeper who can do that is going to make mistakes. So, like, everything considered, I would probably give De Gea a new contract, if I'm being honest. So,
Well, that's it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is, you're saying about keepers being good with the feet, but what does that actually add to the team? It means that you're able to play it from the back. Well, you can play it from the back by rolling the ball to somebody anyway. It's not like you have to be good with your feet to do that. What else? You're not expecting goalkeepers to start taking it around players. Sometimes they do, but I hate it when they do, no matter how good they are with their feet. They get caught out. We've seen Neuer get caught out and others. So, I mean, I don't think that this playing out with your feet is an absolute essential in the modern game. And if you can't do it, forget about it. I mean, no keeper is that bad. Like I say, even the guy, he can do the basics. He can do what he needs to do. In my opinion, I don't see personally what a player, a goalkeeper that's good with his feet can add that like you said, that would be more valuable to a team than somebody who can shot stop the way De Gea had. For me, that is far more valuable. Like you say, so he plays the ball out with his feet, and it sort of contributes to a goal, although it's going to take 25 phases of play before the ball's in the back of the net, versus dropping one in because you're no good with. I mean, that's a much bigger problem. So I feel like his shot stopping is more valuable than any goalkeeper do with their feet. That's my opinion. Maybe somebody who's very tactically astute will tell me why I'm wrong, but I feel like I wouldn't give up what De Gea has for somebody who's better with their feet. Not right now. I couldn't see it.
yeah, there's no goalkeeper out there who makes me want to sell De Gea. There's no massive upgrade on what De Gea produces. Even this young Porto goalkeeper who's meant to be brilliant all round, he had a shite World Cup, let's be honest. So that's not enticing me to sell De Gea and bring him in
No,
for £70 million. Forget it.
no. I mean, across his career, yeah, there's always been somebody that somebody else has always thought was better than the guy. And I do think there's a wee bit, maybe I'm paranoid, I do think there's a wee bit of an ABU thing there, where people will always pick the guy who doesn't play for Man United because the guy who plays for Man United plays for Man United. There's always been, oh, Neuer's better, or oh, Allison's better, or Ederson's better. There's always somebody's better. But throughout his career, I mean, the guy has been probably the best shot stopper, arguably, that I've ever seen in the whole time I've watched football since 1993 or something. But I can't name many that consistently, year in, out, game in, game out, are as reliable as him. I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
He's sublime. He's brilliant.
Yeah, what he has produced in the last 12 years, if Schmeichel and Van der Sar had done that, that would have been good enough in their eras. But now we're critiquing goalkeepers on what they do with their passing. It's
That's what I
ridiculous,
mean.
isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I just don't see how it outweighs your ability to shot stop and keep the ball out of the net. That's your primary job. You're the last line of defense, and if you do that as well as De Gea does, how can the fact that you can play a 20 or 30-yard pass right to somebody's feet, how can that be better? Because you're still only going to get the ball to, well, even if you pump the ball up the pitch and it's leads to a goal, brilliant. But how often is it really going to lead to a goal? Whereas if you're pulling shots off the line nearly every game, which is what he's doing, he's saving you point after point, game after game. Yeah, I think it's ludicrous in my opinion. I think people make too much of this whole goalkeepers being good with their feet thing. I think it's a fad that yeah, people just got carried away with. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's so romanticized now by young football fans, but the way I see it going at the moment is that Ten Hag will keep David De Gea between the sticks. And what I love is that he is willing to, he's on an obscene wage, granted, 375 a week, I think, but he's willing to come away down just to stay at the club. And I like that passion for the club that he's willing to take a pay cut, even though he's not a fringe player. He's still the number one goalkeeper, and he's willing to take a massive pay cut. So I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, that's great. And there's been talk over the years of him wanting to leave, and he's been unsettled, and people got quite angry with him. I mean, I feel like it was probably personal circumstances were probably the main motivators there. Times people thought it was money and it was this and that and the other, but on reflection and what you just said, it seems to me like it was probably personal circumstances, maybe pressure from his family and things like that. Maybe is why he wanted, maybe thought about coming back to Madrid. But I think he's clearly happy at the club. He's extremely highly valued at the club. Like you said, Kyle, what goalkeeper in Man United's history has won as many Player of the Season awards as he has now. I know that says as much about the rest of the team than it does about him, but still, those are pretty good, very big accolades. So he knows he's valued. And I mean, that is impressive that he wants to stay. And I think he, like everybody else, sees that, after years of, things being difficult, we've finally seen a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm sure he doesn't want to walk away when things are just about to get better. So I would say that that's a big motivator for him, that he's got a chance of, down the line, maybe winning a league again, maybe winning the Champions League again. And, he's young enough that he can still enjoy that and be a big part of that. So, yeah, I feel like he would be silly to leave, but that is definitely impressive that he's even willing to take a pay cut just to stay. So yeah, you got to admire that. Yeah, I think he's top class.
Yeah, I think him as much as us would be willing to not win the Player of the Year award at the club. He'd be happy enough not to win that award because it means that we've had a better
exactly,
season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he'd only be too glad for Rashford or Casemiro or somebody else to win. I think he'd be only too happy. Absolutely, yeah.
So, cup final player ratings time, and these are going to be high scores because of the result. So, okay, I'll hand it over to you, Chris. Today, I've done quite a lot recently. So, the goalkeeper, what would you give him?
I'm gonna go for a 7 for De Gea. I thought he played pretty well. Particularly that stop from St. Maximin. I think that was not too long before half time. That could have been something that would have gave them real confidence. If they'd have got a goal around then, and Dallo got absolutely roasted. But a lovely feat from St. Maximin, has to be said. And he was burned down on goal there. A lot of people would have scored in that position, but De Gea did what he always does and just pulled us away from the brink and just kept things as they were. So yeah, I think at least a good solid 7. You could be romantic and say I'll give him an 8. Giving us cup final and we'll win the game and stuff. Yeah, high score for me. I thought he was brilliant.
So Dallo, we came off at halftime.
Yeah, it's hard to give Dallo more than probably a 5, to be honest. I know that seems harsh, but just like what we talked about, yeah, he got absolutely roasted by St. Maximin, and then he got booked, and then he put himself in the untenable position. Then there, after he got booked, the fact that he became a liability, and like you talked about rightly, Kyle, he was probably something that would have been exploited then by some of the tactics of Newcastle. So. Yeah, he was probably one of the only players who you would say probably didn't have a great game. So I'll give him a 5.
Varane,
I'm gonna go for an 8 for Varane. Top class as always. Just absolutely rock solid. Didn't really put a foot wrong. Yeah, I just thought he was just all around absolutely brilliant. I couldn't say anything bad about him. And the result bears that out. So yep, high score for him for me.
Martinez.
Gonna go for Nate again, just as usual. Martinez, battling for everything, winning everything, tenacious. Did just again another top class performance. So a solid 8 for me.
And as Van Gaal would say, Luke Shaw.
Luke Shaw or Mike Shaw? Oh, that was Mike Smalling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Again, an 8 for Luke Shaw. again, could be romantic and give him a 9 because he got the assist for the goal. Yeah, brilliant again. Did what he's been doing at the minute. Cool under pressure, great on the ball, and absolutely whipped that cross in magically, and it was just inviting somebody to get the head onto it. It was a ball that Beckham himself would have been proud of. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, another solid 8.5. I'll go 8.5.
Casemiro.
Casemiro, I'm going to be really romantic and say 9. Yeah, just brilliant all round. Just love everything about the guy. Just smart, cool, breaking up the play. I actually like about him. He's not a particularly dirty player either. His tackling is absolutely on point. His timing of his tackles are absolute perfection. And even sometimes it's not even the tackle. It's his body positions. He just knows where the player's going to go. He just gets in their way. Brilliant. And his header, as I said earlier, was actually a difficult enough header. It's coming across his body. It's very easy to get a glancing blow on that, and you don't get solid contact. So I thought that was an absolutely brilliant header. He took it really well. So yeah, he's a 9 for me. Easy a 9.
What about Federico Rodriguez de Paula Santos?
Who?
What'd you make of his performance?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for. I'm assuming you're talking about Fred. Yeah, I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna be romantic and give Fred an 8. Probably a 7 in another game, but since a cup final won the game, I'm gonna say an 8. Yeah, he did really well. He just didn't. He did his usual. I thought he was very good breaking up play. It was just a typical Fred performance. He's not going to set the world alight. He did really well to get the goal the other night, by the way. Which was brilliant. We were right behind the goal for that. Just to throw that in there, it was brilliant. So, yeah. So he didn't quite put that level of performance in, but he still played really well. Yeah, and yeah, he's a good pair in there at times with Casemiro. So yeah, I'm going to I'll give him an 8.
And the most disliked Manchester United footballer by opposition fans, Bruno Fernandes. How do you feel he performed?
Yeah. So Fernandez was good. I'm going to say a 7. Again, a typical Fernandez performance. Brilliant. I really like a lot about him, but there's things that can frustrate you about him too. I'm not even going to talk about his behaviour. Sometimes some of his decision making can be a wee bit frustrating. Things like at the end when he's clean through. You could argue that right in injury time he should have really probably scored there, or he should have squared it to Sancho, and he didn't do either. So on that, to say he could see how he frustrates even his own teammates a wee bit. But look, I like him. I think he's brilliant. He's the kind of guy you want to have in your team, and he's definitely leadership material. He's cap material all day long. So I'll give him a 7.5.
Marcus Rashford.
Rashford, not one of his better days in some senses, as you said there, Kyle. But I feel like he's probably getting a lot of attention from opposition at the minute too, because he's been in such a good vein of form that he's such a big threat that he's probably getting. He's not getting quite the amount of space. He's probably getting closed down quite quickly in some ways. But I thought he played pretty well. And again, like we said earlier, you could argue that to the letter of the law, it was an own goal, but it was him. He was good ball from Weghorst. He gets onto it. Nice touch with his right foot to take it onto his left foot, and then on another day, he gets that on target and it goes in by his own kind of off his own accord. So yeah, I thought he played well, but not his best day. So I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, Rashford saving his goals for Anfield, I think, in my opinion. So what about Anthony Mateus dos Santos?
So again, I'm assuming you're talking about Anthony. I like the way they're
Yeah.
getting their full titles at the minute. Kind of like that. I think that's a nice touch. You're being very civil there. So yeah, Anthony played well once again, doing what he always does. Yeah, he didn't have as much output as he's had in recent weeks. But I just like him. I think that he's really good on the ball. He's got great feet. Even there was one scenario in the game earlier on where he has the ball and he's got 2 defenders around him, and he just has the composure to actually just he's turning his back to the player. He doesn't know which way to go. He has the composure to sort of turn himself around, turn his back around the other way, and face the defender so he can see what's going. He's just a good footballer. But didn't set the world alight, but he had a solid game. So again, I'm gonna give him a 7.
Yeah, I think Anthony will get better as he matures. So while we were doing the Brazilian full names, Casemiro, by the way, his name is Carlos Henrique Casemiro. That's it. That's his full name,
Didn't know that.
and not many people will know that.
Didn't know that.
So Wout Weghorst, what do you give him for his performance?
I'm gonna be really generous. I'm gonna give the big man an 8. For just sheer work rate and sheer effort, and for good assist play, for playing what I call it, Rashford in for the second goal. Yeah, I've criticised Veghorst. I've criticised him to you privately, let alone on the pod. I'm probably slightly unjustified. It's because he's brought in, he's a striker, and I feel like in some ways, without putting the 5 point, he can't hit a barn door at times, which is a shame. But I'm getting to the point now where I feel like I just want to see the guy score for him because he deserves it, because he worked so hard. So I really, really like him, and again, contribute a lot. He's a kind of player you love to have in your team, and I feel like his own teammates will be busting for him to score. Um, and yeah, so I'd like to see that goal come from him. But it was a good performance today. So I'm going to be really generous. I'm going to say an 8 for him as well. I think he was good.
Yeah, he brings more to the team than what Ronaldo and Martial do, because they do nothing off the ball, whereas he is just a Trojan off the ball. He may not be getting the goals. Hopefully, they will come. But Ten Hag brought him in not because of his goal record, but because of his pressing and his work rate. And like you said, Ten Hag has known him since he was 16. They're both from Twente, the same region of Holland. He knows him well. He knew what he would bring to the team, and he's done that.
Yeah,
Okay, we wish that he was better in front of goal. He had another chance today, was he didn't take, but you can't expect a player who's on loan from Burnley to be a deadly goal scorer.
no,
But what he brings to the team, aside from goals, is just immense. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, he's like the Jason Park of the current team. If you want to make that comparison, he's just it's as if he has three lungs. He
Yeah,
never stops, and
he works really hard.
fans really appreciate that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Yeah, yeah, he's great. I really like him.
yeah, it says something about the player that he's a striker. He scored one goal in 12 matches or something. Yet the fans love him. That tells you
Yeah.
everything you need to know. You
That's
know.
exactly right, and it just shows you what exactly right. It just shows you what fans prioritize, and this is the thing: the players, Ronaldo being the case in point, seems to forget is that as much as people love great skill and great goals and great output, it's not just about that. Fans love the club, and the thing that fans want to see the most is a player who emulates their love for the club and their passion on the pitch. And Veghorst is showing that, playing for the badge and feeling privileged to be there and really working hard. Even the fact you said earlier, he was like, I'm in a final. I would never get to be in a final. I mean, fans love that, they just love somebody like, and that's why we love the Gallo as well. The guy was living his dream, and he gave us all. And yeah, he was never going to be the world's best striker. Nobody cares, you just want to see that passion. So that can make up for a lot. And like I say, Veghorst a striker, and at times I think he couldn't buy a goal, but you don't care because he's given everything, and he's doing really well. So yeah, absolutely. I really like him. I think he's great.
Yeah, it doesn't matter as much that he doesn't score, because a world class player like Rashford is alongside him and getting goals in almost every game, so he gets away with it in that respect. So his tenacity is really appreciated. So Wan-Bissaka, who came on at half time, and like we talked about, was absolutely immense. What would you give him?
Yeah, so Wan-Bissaka, got to give him an 8, maybe an 8.5. Yeah. So he only played half a game, obviously, but yeah, he was absolutely immense again. I mean, I feel like he's probably on a high confidence at the minute. I think he's in a good vein of form. And yeah, he's playing really well. Kyle, yeah, I really like what he's doing at the minute. Yeah, still, could be critical and say I still find him. He, he frustrates me at times when he's on the ball, because you think he looks like a lost schoolboy. He doesn't know what to do with it. But in what we're when you need him to do a job, particularly defensively, you nearly put your house on the fact that the guy trying to get past him, no matter who they are on that left hand side, will just not get by him. And I just love that he's that reliable. So yeah, he was brilliant again today. So I'm going to give him a solid 8.5, I think.
And Sabitzer.
So I'll give Sabitzer. Yeah, I mean he wasn't on that long, but I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him yeah, we're going to give him. He's got 20 minutes. I'll give him a 7.5. Yeah, again, as I said earlier, I like Sabitzer. Yeah, he's once again he's I don't know I don't know how to describe him. He's slightly right, he's slightly of McTominay except better. He's kind of like an upgrade. He's not quite Ericsson. He's probably not quite Fernandez. He's definitely not Casemiro. He's a bit more in the ilk of McTominay, but he's just a wee bit slicker. Yeah, he's good at tackling. He's good on the ball. He his distribution's good. He just does the basics kind of well, and he always has a wee bit of a threat in front of the goal too. You always think, yeah, he could probably get a wee goal, a wee long range or something. He could probably like McTominay can on occasion too, but he just feels like a wee bit McTominay, but just a bit better. That's how I see him. So yeah, I thought he was pretty good. So I'm gonna say a 7.5 for him, being generous, cup final and all, and yeah, we won the game. So yeah, 7.5.
I think Sabitzer will get a long range goal at some point, and yeah, I think there's a lot more to come from him. He's a very good player. I mean, he was the captain of RB Leipzig, and he was such a highly rated talent. Unfortunately, when he went to Bayern, as most Bundesliga players do when they do well, they have so much talent in that position. He couldn't get into the team on a regular basis, but he's ended up at Old Trafford and he's playing for a contract, and I think he will probably get that in the end. So the only other player that played 20 minutes or more was Scott McTominay. Again, I thought he was totally anonymous. Didn't do well when he came on the Arsenal game. He was pretty much ineffective. And nowadays, if we had to make a decision between who should go and who should stay between Fred and McTominay, it would be McTominay to go for me. So, McTominay, what would you give him?
Yeah, so yeah, I think that sums him up really, Kai. I barely noticed he was on the pitch, if I'm honest. He just doesn't, yeah, he just didn't provide much. And you're right, at the minute, we complained a lot about the McSauce pairing. Just the two of them were you always complained that Fred and McTominay were just a bit, yeah, we're an awful combination. But you're right. Right now, you would say that McTominay looks to be the weaker of the two. Yeah, he was fairly ineffective. I guess he didn't really do anything particularly wrong. But he was kind of fairly anonymous. Um, yeah, probably him and Dallo were probably the two weakest performers today in some way. So, yeah, I think I'll give McTominay a 6. Maybe a 6.5. Given that I think I gave Dallo. Well, I give Dallo a 5 actually. But yeah, I'll say a 6 or a 6.5 for McTominay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, Sancho and Maguire didn't play very long, so can't really give them a rating. So, Eric Ten Hag, what would you give him out of 10 for the Carabao Cup Final?
Well, again, we won the game in the spirit of being generous. I'll have to go and give him. I'll give him a good solid 9, maybe even a 9.5. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's done an absolutely bang on job. I think he got the. I think he picked the team really, really well. I don't think there was anybody. Don't know if you feel any differently, Ken. I don't think there's anybody really in the starting lineup that I would have swapped. I don't know if you feel differently. I don't think there's anybody really in that starting lineup based on the last couple of games that I would have changed. So yeah, I think he got it bang on. And when he did see there was positions where it was weak, i.e. Dallo, he made the sub immediately. Hooked him at halftime, did the right thing. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it was almost a flawless performance. You could really just give him a 10. But given that it's very hard to give out 10s out of 10, yeah, I'm gonna say a 9.5. He was. I mean, yeah. What else could he have done? What won the game? Won the cup at the first time of asking. And like I say, I don't see anything in the selection that I would have changed. So yeah, feel free to disagree.
Literally, Ten Hag could have selected Phil Jones today, and I wouldn't have complained. That's how much I trust Ten Hag at this point.
That is a That's a big statement coming from you, Kyle. I've heard a lot of criticism for managers on this podcast. So yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. You just could not say anything wrong. He seems to just know what to do at all times, and that's the thing. And a bit like Ferguson as well. It's not even just who he picks. Even when he picks a player, he's able to get the best out of that player. He knows where the weaknesses are in a team, where he's able to pick a team that will have a good balance, and that's a really important thing. So players who have flaws kind of get them covered up, in a sense, and that's what a good team should have. So yeah, I mean, I think he did pretty much flawless today from him. So you could give him a 10, but it just feels a bit like, can you ever give a 10 out of 10? So maybe a 9.5. But yeah.
And what did you make of Phil Jones, the pundit today, for Sky Sports? Didn't see that one coming, did we?
No, it definitely didn't. I don't know what to say. I feel sorry. I feel sorry for Phil sometimes. I mean, you can tell that he's itching to be on the pitch. He feels like that's where he should be. He definitely. I don't think that Phil Jones is really sitting there taking his wages and contributing. I think it's not for his want of being on the pitch. I think he wants to be on the pitch. He's just doesn't get picked on it. Yeah, I mean, is he going to be here for another season? I mean, I can't imagine that Ten Hag. I mean, Ten Hag probably likes him. There's not much about him you could dislike, but he's sitting there and he's just not going to play. So I think he's probably going to have to go at the end of this year. But yeah,
I'm sure Ten Hag doesn't like him as a person, but he's not in the Premier League squad. He's not in the Europa League squad. So clearly, Ten Hag doesn't value him that much. So
no, I don't think he does. Like I say, he probably doesn't dislike him. He's not a very dislikable guy. He's pretty likable sort of a guy. But yeah, I don't think he figured in the plans, is he? Yeah, I think that's all you can say, really.
So at this point, his football career is not going to get in the way of his media aspirations. Maybe he's preparing now for his kind of post football career alongside Roy Keane and Gary Neville in the studio.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair comment. Yeah.
So these games keep coming thick and fast. Unfortunately, there's no let up for Manchester United. There's no let up for the Glory Glory My Head podcast. These games are never ending. So the FA Cup is next on Wednesday night against West Ham at home. Ideally, in that situation, I wouldn't mind. Rashford was clearly injured against Barcelona. Didn't look fully fit today. Perhaps against West Ham at home in the FA Cup, I would go with Garnacho and let Rashford have a rest, especially considering that the next league game is Anfield, which we always want to win and want to have our best team on the pitch. Would you go along with that then, Chris?
Okay, I don't think we need our best team on the pitch at Anfield at the minute. I'm sure Liverpool fans absolutely love me saying that. Look, yeah, I'm joking, obviously. Well, maybe slightly joking, not completely joking. No. Look, I mean, it's always a game. The game at Anfield is like a cup final in itself, as we know, and absolutely anything can happen. I've seen a lot worse. Not worse Liverpool teams. I've seen Liverpool teams in much worse form than this beat Man United teams in better form than this. Well, not necessarily beating them, but it's never an easy game. Anything can happen. So yeah, you're right. We're gonna need everybody, and the running. It's great because when you got all these games, it means that you're in 4 competitions and that you're potentially we've just picked up a trophy, which is great. And we've arguably mathematically we're not out of the 3 other trophies that we're in. Not likely we're going to win them all, of course, but yeah. So it's great to see all these games coming thick and fast. It means that we're successful. We need a big squad. I feel like we're coping pretty well at the minute. That's probably down to the signings that the loan signings, so Weghorst and Sabitzer are coming in when we needed them and kind of giving us a wee bit of a booster there. Hopefully we get some of the guys who are out injured coming back. Ericsson would be nice to see coming back. Ericsson at least would be really nice to see coming back. And yeah, we're going to need everybody, Kyle. And like you say, you really want your best team really fit for that game in Anfield. That's going to be a big one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know they've been terrible this season, and they've picked up a wee bit recently, although they've had another couple of setbacks in the recent games. It's kind of like Celtic and Rangers. Even Celtic are clearly so much better than Rangers, but like we saw today, it was another tight affair. When it comes to rivals playing each other, form kind of goes out the window.
Exactly.
So even if we're superior to Liverpool at the moment, which is remarkable considering last season how shite we were, and the fact that they nearly won trophies last season. The fact that this just turned around completely 180, and we are like far better than them at Anfield. We're not going to win that 5-0 or anything close to it. It's going to be a competitive football
Nah,
match,
absolutely not.
and
Yeah.
we need to have our best players on the pitch. Um, yeah, so I would like to maybe rest Rashford for that one if we can. Play Garnacho in the FA Cup, and give him some time off because he needs it. Because I don't want to run him into the ground, and he's our most important player at the moment and our biggest source of goals. So I would take the opportunity. I think we can probably beat West Ham in the FA Cup at home without Rashford, with all due respect, given how bad they've been this season. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think Garnacho is a good enough player to deputise for Rashford in that game. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I think you're right, Kyle. Yeah, I mean, I think Garnacho's a great young player. I think he's got a lot to learn. You know, as you can imagine, he's a young guy. You know, he's still got a bit of a ways to go. But he's got a lot of ability, and he's definitely a goal threat and an assist threat. He's got great feet. He's a great dribbler. His movement's really good. So, yeah, I think that's a fair. I think that would be a pretty fair, pretty sort of reasonable approach. Yeah, to give Rashford a rest. Like you say, Rashford will, we don't want to become too over reliant on him. I feel like he is going to get, and already is getting some attention from defenses because we see that when you give him space, he just destroys teams. So I feel like the games are going to get a little bit more difficult for him in some ways rather than easier, because he's not going to get targeted as such, but he's going to be marked tightly and things like that. So he's probably good enough to give him a little bit of a rest in the FA Cup. Like you say, let Garnacho come on, and then kind of hopefully that Rashford's back for the Liverpool game and he's firing on all cylinders, and I might suit him to playing that game because, like we said, Liverpool aren't going to sit back because it's Liverpool and Man United. They're not going to sit back. They're going to go for it. They're going to want to beat us, so that'll hopefully open things up, and Rashford might be able to capitalize on that. So that'll probably be a perfect game for him to come back into. So yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
And do you know the way the second goal was put down as a Sven Botman own goal, but apparently now it's been changed to a Marcus Rashford goal.
Okay.
Um, so, so maybe that'll be his 25th goal of the season now. Let's see.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's great. I hope that's the case. That's great. Very good. Any
Yeah.
any talk about why the change? Did you say?
No, I just seen on and up there that it just changed, from Votman OG to Marcus Rashford. Maybe the independent goals panel have changed their minds and went for Rashford. But we'll not complain one bit, will we? And I'm glad to see, I want to see United players get. I know obviously, team awards and team trophies are more important, but I like to see United players get individual accolades as well at the same time.
Absolutely.
So
100% agree. Yeah. And like I said earlier when we were texting, you always talk about strikers' goal. You always feel like the striker should be given the benefit of the doubt, you know what I mean? Unless that, somebody literally kicks it into their own net. But understand it was going wide, until they'll deflect it in. So I can see why went down as an own goal. But yeah, given that Rashford did all the hard work, and literally struck the ball towards goal, I think it's fair that the goal is given to him. So that's good news if they have overturned it. Good stuff. That's yeah. I think it's deserved. So good stuff.
yeah, happy days. So we'll wrap it up there for today. If everyone can please subscribe to the podcast, smash a like on the video, and get more of your comments in down below. And I will see everybody again on Wednesday night, hopefully. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Chris.
Thanks again, Kyle. Good to be on, and good to be on a good day like today. So appreciate you having me on, mate. Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care, mate. Good man.
Come on, United.